Well, all right. What is up, YAs? Welcome to our very first collective podcast. We're here with Pastor West. Now, you just preached for us 2 weeks ago.
I did.
We're going to talk a little bit about that. You preached on community.
I did.
And so very excited to start these podcasts. Got an incredible first guest with us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your life, because you're not from here.
No.
How you ended up here, where you're at. Just give us a little bit about yourself.
Well, like I said, my name is Wes Jenkins. I'm originally from Huntsville, Alabama. Born in Huntsville, lived there for about 6 years. Moved across the state line to a small town called Fayetteville, Tennessee. A lot of people don't know where that's at.
I know of it. I don't know where it's at.
It's a very small town. Right across the state line, you go about 30 minutes north, 35 minutes north of Huntsville. Then you hit Fayetteville, small town. Grew up there for the last 14 years, from about 6 to 20. Did all my elementary, middle school, high school years in Fayetteville, so that's home for me. And then my freshman year, I went to a small community school. I did one semester, and then I figured out that college is not for me.
Not for you.
So,
What made you think that though? Like, what made you determine that? Because it ain't for everybody.
No, like a lot of stuff was going on in my home life, and I just mentally, I could not really focus on school. I just did not want to do it. Just mentally, I couldn't. I was just struggling with stuff spiritually. So it's just like, I was not in the right headspace to think that I wanted to do it.
That's awesome that, number one, I went to school for one semester. I went to ministry school, but everybody knows ministry school is not college.
Yeah.
Right?
No doubt.
You're sitting there setting up chairs, taking trash out.
Yeah.
That's not – I mean, there were studies that we had, but it is not college. I went to college for one semester. I loved it.
Yeah.
But during that time, I could very easily tell. I actually loved college. I did better in my grades at college than I did in high school.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so, but I sat there and making friends and just learned life that this isn't for everybody.
Right.
And so I think it's awesome that you're one of those people. You're like, this was not for me, because there's a ton of pressure on young adults. Like, we are young adults. Mm-hmm. We're figuring it out, but there's a ton of pressure on young adults to be like, go to school. Yeah. If you're not an American citizen, if you don't have college debt, right? It's like a way of life out here. 100%. And so I think that's awesome that you admit, hey, this ain't for everybody, and that's okay, because you're very successful.
Yeah.
You're engaged.
Yeah.
All right. You a big Bama fan. Roll Tide.
Roll
all
Tide,
right.
Man.
And so you got a job at River of Life.
Yeah.
I mean, you're tearing up life with no college experience.
Yeah.
And that's legendary.
Yeah. So, like I said, I pretty much dropped out after my first semester, and then that's when the Lord really began to deal in my life. Yeah. I surrounded myself with people who weren't always leading me in the right direction, but I also had a couple friends who really poured into me.
Yeah.
And, two of those guys are Seth Bertarelli, who is like
shout out Seth.
Big Seth. He's in Jacksonville, pastor.
He's like
he's
7 foot tall.
Killing it in Florida. And then my other friend, Logan Davis, who is
shout out Big Logan.
Logan, bro. And he is a huge part of my testimony. Huge part.
Logan's a great dude.
So he didn't give up on me.
Yeah.
He did not give up on me. He poured into me even when he knew I was partying, I was drinking, I was doing everything that the world says that it's okay to do.
Right.
I was doing it, and deep down, I knew it wasn't okay, because I grew up. Well, not grew up, but from I was a freshman in high school until I graduated and left Fayetteville, I was in an AG church. Yeah. So I experienced convention, I experienced camp.
Right.
I know what the Holy Spirit feels like and being in an atmosphere like that. So, I lived a very double life for a long time.
Yeah.
And so he poured into me from January until he left for YWAM. Yeah. And March, he poured into me. Yeah. And poured into me, and
love it.
Part of my testimony is whenever he picked me up one day, we went to Huntsville, because that's the only thing you can do. If you're a Fayettevillean, if you're from Fayetteville, Tennessee, you know that there is nothing to do. And if you want to do anything fun, you go to Huntsville. You go to Huntsville.
Okay.
And so the night before, I was at a party.
Yeah.
I partied, and it was weird. It's different because I was just kind of there. Like,
right.
I really didn't partake in anything, I guess you would say. Like, you know, I was with all my friends hanging out, but it was weird. It was different.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really, like, I didn't have fun. I was just kind of like, you know, back against the wall, just kind of looking at everybody. And I don't know. I was never suicidal. I always say this. But I was at a point in life for like the last year or so, maybe during that time I was home, I didn't have any joy.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, what is the point of life? Because if this is it, then I was like, I don't want it. Like I did not want to continue to live life the way I was living it, because I just had no purpose. I had no joy, and I really didn't know what I was doing with my life, because I just dropped out of college.
Right.
And so it's just like, I don't know what.
I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing with my life.
I'm literally, me and my fiance had to talk, and I literally told her, like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And she encouraged me, just like, it's okay to not know what you're doing.
Yeah, I think, again, this is a podcast towards young adults, right?
Yeah.
And whoever else listens. But
Right.
I think as a young adult, you have to come to this realization, what I'm learning at least.
Mm-hmm.
You may not know exactly what you're doing.
Right.
You may be in the boat like, I have no clue what I'm doing with my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've got a job here at the church. I'm doing adult things, right? But I still feel like, man, what am I doing with my life?
Right.
And I think that's one of the enemy's tactics.
Yes.
Number one. But number two, I think as long as you can encourage yourself in, I am doing something.
Right.
I'm not sitting here at the wayside, you know, sitting and sulking and loathing over this. I am doing something.
Right.
Like, I think if you ever get to that spot in your life as a young adult to sit there and say, okay, I may not have any idea what I am doing.
Yeah.
Is this right or is this wrong? But I am doing something, and I am taking steps forward. And I think if you can stay in that spot as a young adult, you're eventually going to crack through. I think of it all the time as, like, you've probably seen it. There's that picture of a dude who is mining, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you see like 3 pictures. When he first starts, there's diamonds like this far from him. And so he just keeps mining and getting closer and closer and closer. And then he's one pickaxe, one swing away from the diamonds, but he turns around and walks off. I think as long as you, as a young adult and as a human, everybody in life, we all get in these stages, just say, okay, I'm going to continue to keep going. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to keep going.
Right.
I think eventually you keep swinging, you keep going, you're going to hit the diamonds you're looking for.
100%. No, you're for sure, you're going to make it to where the Lord has called you to be and go.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to make it to, like, your promised land.
Yeah,
like
100%.
You're going to make it to the place where people who you trust to pour into you from a biblical, view, and that are biblical people, that they're in their church, and they're seeking the Lord, and you surround yourself around people who are encouraging you and telling you that you're going to get to the place where you belong. Like, I
would take it even a step further with people who are in the church. Saw a thing on Facebook. Yeah. We're wise here. Saw a thing on Facebook. Somebody posted, the devil don't care if you go to church, if that's all you do.
Right.
So I'd take it even a step further as you're finding your community and finding those voices, find people in the church who are living with God.
Right.
Not just living for church.
Right.
Not living for a religion.
Right. That's different. There's a difference.
Yes. Like they are, and I don't mean they got it all together.
Yeah, 100%.
I think we have this pressure of you got to have it all together. Right. You ain't got to have it all together at all. Lord, I make plenty of mistakes, right? Hundreds of them each day. But as long as I live in that grace and in that mindset of I'm going to get this out, and I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm going to keep going,
right?
And I think it's important to find people that are like that, in the community of the Lord and everything. Find people who are living for Him and not just going to church and then living like a heathen the rest of the days of the week. Because those
100%.
Sadly, there are people like that in His church.
Yep.
That's not everybody, and that's
100%.
not bashing His church, but there are people out there. And so having discernment of who gets to speak into my life is crucial.
It's vital, no doubt. So, like I said, I was just in a place where I was just alone. And like I said, I won't forget Logan. We talked every day. Like that was my guy. That's my best friend. And so one thing I loved and I still love about Logan was even when he knew the things that I was doing, he didn't shove Jesus down my throat.
Yeah.
Or he didn't shame me for the things I were doing.
100%.
But he would always tell me, like, bro, you are loved.
Yeah, yeah.
like you are valued, and like, bro, like I love you, and the Lord loves you.
Yeah.
And he was like, just always encouraged me.
Yeah.
Like he always encouraged me. He didn't always say too much, but he also said enough to where it would make me think, like, you know. And so I remember he picked me up, and we went to Huntsville, and we were listening to worship music. That's all we would listen to, especially if I was with him.
Yeah.
Like I think he did that just because he knew the life I was living. So he was like, I'm gonna play something that's gonna point him to Jesus, or there's gonna be Jesus somewhere, you know, in the atmosphere. And so we would always listen to worship music every time I was with him. That's all he played. And so we were listening, you know, and already like the Lord was already just in the vehicle.
It was in the car,
you know. And so I can't remember the song, man, but I just remember just listening to it. You know, I was really just like, you know, in tune with it. And I won't ever forget the words. I mean, it was clear as day. I won't ever forget the words. And it was just a voice just saying, when are you going to give up?
Yeah.
When are you going to give up? And I remember I just kind of like I was confused. I was like, what's going on?
Right.
Because I've never heard that voice before.
Yeah.
In my life, and I didn't know what it was, but I knew like that was meant for me.
Yeah.
Like, and I knew, like, at first I thought Logan said something, but he didn't. I was looking at him, and I'm like, there's no way he could have said it. And that was just the Lord. Like, wow. I knew, like, that was the Lord telling me, like, you've done everything you could possibly do to find joy and fulfillment, and you failed.
I love how you talked about music. So I'm the person, right, when I go through seasons, I think people think sometimes us pastors, we don't go through seasons that are tempting, challenging.
Yeah.
One of the ways the enemy like legitimately gets to me in a hard season is through music.
Yeah.
I'm a musician. I love music. And so in worldly ways, you understand like the knowledge of music. Like you understand the way it's going to flow. I'm trying not to talk too nerdy talk, but you just understand where it's going, the importance of it, how hard it might have been to create that, how beautiful that actually is to be in harmony with each other and stuff like that. And so as a musician, right, I appreciate a lot of those things. And so when I'm going through a challenging season or a season where I feel like I'm very stressed and stuff, the way the enemy gets to me is through music. I'll turn on some music and just kind of chill out. And eventually, it's not the music that's inherently bad. It's just how my soul is wired, right? Then I'll start to go down this path of, okay, I'm listening to this music. Let me dabble a little bit more deeper over here. And let me dabble a little bit more deeper over here. And eventually, it just keeps going deeper and deeper. Not everybody's like that, but I just love how you brought up music, because for me, you read the word, spend time with him in prayer, and I feel him deeply there. But for me, I can kind of gauge on where I'm at in life sometimes by the music I'm listening to. You know what I'm saying? I can
100%.
gauge what season I'm in life by the music I'm listening to. And that's also with Christian music.
100%.
With today's worship music and stuff, I can gauge what my spirit might be needing by the type of music it's craving, right? Because if you're listening to worship music that is kind of all like, I need the Lord to come through and stuff like that, I'd sit down and listen to myself like, hey, so what do you need? You know, and let's go and make it happen. Not saying God won't provide, but we're also going to go for it ourselves. So anywho, music is powerful.
It is.
And I've said this multiple times with our young adults. I don't think we understand sometimes how powerful music is. Music will move you. As a musician, there's a thing in the world that says when words fail, music speaks. And the Lord speaks through music.
He does.
And so, sorry, didn't mean
no, you're
just
good.
anytime someone talks about like music like that, it just catches my attention because again, I'm a musician.
So yeah, bro. And I remember like just that day, like it was kind of, I just thought on that like the whole day. And it was after that day, like I literally was like, okay, Lord, my life is yours. Like what I was doing clearly did not work. I was not getting the joy I thought I was getting. Like, I might have enjoyed it, you know, for a minute or two or a couple minutes, you know, but like it was not a fulfilling joy.
You know that one song, here I am talking about music, that one song, Fake Love by Drake?
Yeah. Look at dude.
That one song, "Fake Love" by Drake.
Yeah.
When they say things like that, I thought I was experiencing joy. You was experiencing that fake joy.
It was. It
You
was
know what I'm
fake.
saying?
Yeah, no doubt. But bro, I remember going home that night. He dropped me off back at my house, bro, and I wept.
Yeah.
Like because I was just so broken. I was just so lost. And it felt good, bro, knowing that like through it all, through everything, through all the struggles I went through high school and even leading up to, to my first semester of college and after that, like it felt so good to know that like all that stuff doesn't matter and it doesn't define who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Or does it define how the Lord views you? Like he doesn't care about none of that.
Right.
Like he just wants your yes.
Yeah.
And so, bro, like ever since that happened, like I was already heavily invested into the church, but I was living a double life.
Yeah.
So it's just like, like I was very involved, in church.
And so to get that back to community, it was your community. It was Logan.
Right.
That helped. He was the one that sat you in the car, played worship music. It was your community that kind of got you out of that.
Right.
It was your community that was like, all right, bro, let's just turn you back towards the Lord. And I'm here with you.
Yeah.
You said he didn't force the Lord down your throat or none of that. He just kind of like, all right, let me turn you back.
Right. And so it was, bro, and without him, I tell this in my testimony, I tell him, like, without you, like without him or even without Seth, them two guys, like, I really don't know where I would not be where I'm at spiritually if I didn't have those two guys. And that's why I always say it's important. Like, you cannot do the walk with the Lord that you can't do it alone. No. And I'm a firm believer is if you don't have at least 2 to 3 people in your life that you can trust, that are in the Word, that are living out what the Bible says to live out, like you have to have those people in your life to help you get through what you need to get through. Like I firmly believe like you cannot have a healthy relationship with the Lord if you're not surrounding yourself with people like you.
100%. I think that is one of the attacks on our generation.
Yes.
Is all of this independency talk.
Right. Yeah.
Like you were created to be dependent upon the Lord.
Yes.
But you were also created for community.
Yes.
Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
Right. Jesus went and got his 12.
Right.
Right. So they were all together.
Yeah.
There was never this, I can do this alone. I got this.
Right.
I got me and mine. I got myself.
Yeah.
It's just me, myself, and I.
Right.
It was never intended to be like that. The Bible says, love the neighbor as you love yourself.
Yeah.
Number one, I love how you have to love yourself before you love your neighbor.
Absolutely.
That's a whole nother podcast. But love your neighbor. What is that putting an emphasis on? Go and be with community.
Yep. Community
is key. And the enemy wants to, if he can't get you to think of the mindset of, okay, I can do this by myself.
Yeah.
He'll get you to a point where you do go to college, you do go to the workplace, you do go to a new church, when you change life scenes or you move or something like that or whatever.
Yeah.
You go to a new place. The enemy, if he can't get you to think it's me, myself, and I think one of the ways he gets you to that point is by making you feel like you're alone.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You had mentioned that somewhat too. Like you weren't suicidal, but you felt kind of alone.
Right.
And so I think that is a point where the enemy gets you there, and it's like, okay, eventually, well, I've just been so alone for so long, I'm just going to stay here. Right. Well, no, that's not what you were created to live in. You were created to live in a healthy, Christ-centered community where his presence inhabits and is in the center of it all.
Yeah.
That's what you were created for.
Yeah,
100%. And so, anyways, keep going.
And so, that happened. So March, April, I'm telling you, a full 180.
Yeah.
And I don't say 360 because I heard this. I preached this, and when I went to Miss Trip in Belize, I got to preach, and I put this point in here, but I'm going to butcher this probably. So,
okay.
But the quote was like, you don't do a 360 because you're going to turn right back around to what you just came out of.
Yeah.
But you do a 180 because you turn to something new. It was something like that.
Yeah.
But, I did a complete 180. You know, because I turned to a whole new direction.
100%.
I turned into a whole new person. Like I turned to a whole new season of my life where I literally did nothing, but I just craved Jesus.
Yeah.
And so, bro, I spent every day.
Yeah.
Hours, bro, an hour just reading, praying, listening to worship music. Like I was surrounding myself with nothing but him.
Yeah.
And through that time, like, you know, I still had like all my friends, of course, who weren't living right, or even they weren't not living right, but they just weren't in church.
Yeah, yeah.
And like there came a point in time where I had to separate myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I'd literally, like I didn't lose friends, but, you know, like whenever the Lord has a call on your life, you can't take everybody with you.
No.
Because some people don't understand.
Yeah.
Or they just don't know because they haven't felt his goodness
Some
yet.
people are to get you up the hill.
Right.
And then some people are to ascend the mountain with you.
Right. And so like I literally just kind of cut myself away from relationships that I had with friends, and I really began to try to build, you know, a friendship and a community that were going to help me in my walk with the Lord. And so March and April, bro, that's all I was doing.
Yeah.
Like I was cutting off branches. New ones were growing back, but with fruit.
You did a little bit of pruning.
Yeah, and so I had
and
to
it probably sucked.
It did.
And it was probably hard.
It was.
And you probably even still felt lonely while you were doing it.
Yes. Because I didn't have a lot of friends after that.
Yeah.
Because it's like I can't continue to hang out with these guys if I want to live the life that the Lord has called me to live.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, you know, it came a lot where my friend group or my friends went from all the way up here and it went down just to a few.
Yeah.
But that's who I settled, and I was okay. I was content with that. I was fine with that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and so kind of now, you know, this is probably around late April or May. The Lord gave me a vision, bro. And I remember I was in church Sunday morning, and I was like, Lord, what am I called to do? And I knew I loved working with kids, and I loved working with youth. So in my mind, I was like, could youth ministry be something that I could do, you know? And at the time, my pastor's wife came up and prayed for me, bro. And before that, like I had a vision. I just saw myself on a stage, and it was just a bunch of youth. I just saw it was just like just figures of youth, and I was on a stage preaching to them.
Wow.
And then literally a few moments later, like not much longer, my pastor's wife comes into me and tells me, like, I feel like ministry is going to be what you do. Yeah. It's going to be something that the Lord is going to use you to do.
Okay.
And you're going to reach many people.
Yeah.
And I was just like, Lord, let me know, like, if this is what I want to do, like, allow my heart to grow more and more for it. And bro, like ever since then, it's been like, I couldn't see myself doing anything.
Yeah.
And I still don't see myself doing anything else until the Lord calls me to do something else.
Yeah.
Like youth ministry is it.
Yeah.
Like my heart for it is just, I can't explain it.
Right.
Like it's just, I just can't explain like how much joy I get out of it.
Yeah.
You know, just trying to be a light, you know, for them and give them an example and let them know that you might be in high school, and I get it, it's hard.
Right.
Like high school, because there are so many different things pulling at you,
right,
trying to get your attention, trying to put you in that direction. But like I'm just want to let them know, and I try to encourage them that it is possible to live a godly life in high school.
100%. Yeah, I have a testimony. I'm not going to share it all, but I went through high school without doing a lot of them high school things.
Right.
And it wasn't until I got into outside of high school and into the world that I started doing those things.
Yeah.
And so it's possible.
Yeah, it's possible.
It is 100% possible.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of, not to cut you off, but turn it into, we have students that are going back. I call them students. I'm so used to youth ministry. I love youth ministry. We have young adults who are going to school right now. They've been there a week or two. They're in classes. We've got young adults who are working full-time jobs. Some of them switching it up. Some of them going to new places. We've got young adults who are entering a new season of parenthood.
Yep.
I mean, we got it all. So what would you, Wes, say to those people? What is a practical way to say, hey, this is how you can help find your community, other than outside of, kind of going to church and looking for it? What would your advice be? And I'm dropping a big question on you.
Yeah.
What would your advice be when you go into the world, when you go into college? How can you find community out in the world and in like college and stuff?
Man, like I would for sure in college find groups in your college.
100%.
Like clubs,
Yeah.
extra things, extra events that are going on. Go after those things.
Yeah.
Like do your extra, I don't know, what is it? You say extra activity.
Extracurricular.
Yeah, curricular things. Like find what your college is doing.
Yeah.
So that you can kind of build a foundation. And if you know the Lord, if you're living right, like allow that to be your ministry.
Yeah, 100%.
Like allow that to be where, Lord, like I don't know what I'm doing, but it's okay. Like use me however you are wanting me to be used in this place.
Yeah.
Like how can I be a vessel?
I think, yes, 100% living in right standing with God.
Right.
And people will flock to that.
Yes.
Both good and bad.
Right.
Right. There's going to be people that want to challenge you.
Yes.
There's going to be people who are going through a season and need the encouragement.
Right.
And you can encourage them, but if you're not careful, sometimes they might drag you into it a little bit.
100%.
I think the Lord is going to honor that of
will.
you living right with Him.
Right. You don't even
And
gotta
I think
say anything.
He'll send you people.
Right.
But that's not just saying sit back and let Him send. 100%.
Right.
Go to the extracurricular things. I think for people who are in college, one of the best things to do is to go to the college ministry that they have.
Exactly.
Almost every
100%.
college has something now.
Yes.
Go out on a limb. You're not you're not at home. You have to find new churches.
Right.
That's where you can make connections and discover people. That's where you can find community. If you don't like it, find your friends and okay, maybe it's not your cup of tea. There's no pressure in you to be like, no, you got to do that. I'm not one of those guys to be like, you have to do that. Mm-hmm. You can go there, find your community. And if that's something you're not up with, but you found your community and they're going to challenge you and pour into you and vice versa, then by all means run with that. Right. But go to the extracurricular things and find people and the Lord almost will kind of, I feel like, reveal them to you.
He will.
And you'll kind of catch people. You can tell someone who's been with the Lord.
Yes.
And so I think that's major.
Yeah.
I think one of the ways. What do you think? Before I just spill, what do you think one of the ways is in like a job in the world outside of college? Right. What is a way there? Because a lot of people, man, there's not a lot of options there.
There's not
extracurricular. There's
not, bro.
So what's your advice there?
I know for me, because we'll talk about it later, but I was part of a church plant when I moved here. Yeah. That's the reason why I came here in the first place, because of a church plant. And so through that, I had to find a secular job. Like I worked a full-time job. And because I already knew the Lord and I was living the life that, I was trying and I was, living the life to the best that I could for Him, in that time I was working at a secular job. Like for me I was just being a light. Yeah. Like for me, like what I did, I worked in a warehouse. Yeah. And so there's guys in there, from all ages. Like I was the youngest guy in the warehouse, but like a lot of those guys, they flocked to me. Yeah. And it wasn't because of who I was. Like I'm the new guy in town. Like, but it was because like from the very beginning, I let them know like this is who I am as a person. I'm a follower of Christ. I'm not a Christian, because that word's thrown out.
Everybody's a Christian.
I always say there's a difference between a Christian and a follower of Christ. Yeah, yeah. Like I'm a follower of Christ. Like I told them I'm not going to be here long, because I know ministry is what the Lord has called me to do. Yeah. But I literally I was a light. Yeah. I loved them. Like I would pray for them. Like these guys probably don't even know I was praying for. I would pray for them. Like I was just being an example that was set through the word, so I can try to be a light to them.
And I think during that season, because I remember the church plant season with you, that's really, I think we knew of each other.
Right.
For whatever reason, we had already been following each other on Instagram,
Right, yeah.
probably because of Logan.
TYM.
Yes,
so.
but one of the things is you stayed connected to your church, and I remember during that season, you kept showing up to events.
Yes.
Events around the church you guys were planning, other churches' events.
Right.
You kept showing up because you were hungry for the Lord.
Yeah.
And it was in that you made your connections in the body of Christ.
Right.
And so that was kind of going to be where I went up is, and that if you're in the workplace,
yeah,
stay connected.
Stay connected
to the church.
Right.
Don't leave the church.
No.
And I understand, like, there's all the talk. We, the people, are the church. Okay, yeah. But there is an importance in the building, too. Yeah. There is an importance, and there is a place for it. And stay connected.
Yes.
Stay connected. Do the extracurriculars in the church. To me, if you are working in the secular world, if you're working there, that is your extracurricular.
It is.
Go to the movie nights.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not just saying that so we have more people come to our collective movie nights.
Right.
Go to the ice skating events. Mm-hmm. Go to the Christmas carols. Yeah. Go to the pumpkin patch. Go to the corn maze. Right. Go to whatever they're doing. Yeah. You don't have to go to all of them. Understand life is life and you're busy and sometimes you have kids, you're entering adulthood, but stay connected in that, stay connected and whatever is there for you in your church, if they're providing it for you, stay connected. And I guarantee you're going to find that community. Yeah. Don't be scared when they say, hey, guys, a bunch of us are going to go over here to when we came to your church service, right? The River of Life's Young Adults.
In August,
we took some of our folks over there. Mm-hmm. You can find community like that. I know a couple of our people, I think, are actually still talking to each other, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they
find community like that. Okay, and so it's not just centralized, but go be active in the extracurriculars. And I think a lot of times that's how you can kind of shake some of that old living off.
Yeah, 100%.
If you are finding, and I want to be careful with this. Again, I don't know everything. This is just me thinking out loud almost. Right. If you're struggling to get out of that old season that the Lord's delivered you from, but that craving is still there, and you are drowning that craving with the Lord, but then every now and then it just rises up in you, and it is just so much. I'm not saying overload yourself and stay so busy, but what I am saying is go and burn for the Lord, and by burning, there is a little bit of busyness that comes in that burn, and keep yourself away from if I know I'm on a diet, and I know my weakness is ice cream.
Yeah,
I love ice cream. I'm not gonna go with everybody at 10 o'clock at night when the munchies are coming to Baskin Robbins. Right. I'm not gonna do that to myself, especially if I've eaten clean. Now there is the discipline. Yeah. But again, if I'm coming out and I'm just on that diet, I'm talking like day one of the diet. All right. My mind's gonna say you can start back tomorrow.
Right.
This is just day one. You start back tomorrow.
Right.
Right. When you're freshly coming out of that season and when it's so new, I think it's okay for you to be like, okay, I'm not going to put myself in that situation.
Right, 100%.
There is discipline that we as citizens of the kingdom and sons and daughters have to learn. Yeah. There's a discipline to it. But I think when you get to that point and you're fresh coming out of it, don't put yourself back in a situation where it's going to be hard to say no, and the cravings are going to be loud and substantial. Yeah. And I think that's just smart.
It is.
I think that's smart.
So yeah, bro. So like I would say people who are working, who aren't in college and they're young adult and they have a job or whatever and they're trying to find community, like for one, like if you're going to the church, like ask people at your church.
100%.
Because ask people who are older than you, who's been there, who's worked at a secular job.
There's wisdom there.
But also was serving, or they were in the church as well, heavily involved, but then they got to go back to their secular job. Ask them, like, how were you able to not fall into temptation if you're in an area that everyone cut? Because I worked in a warehouse. Every other word was
cuss words, yeah.
And I cussed a lot back in my high school days, and for me, it was just like I would I would think on all the good things that the Lord has brought me through. Yeah. And so for me, like, I didn't really struggle with that. Yeah. So like my advice would be ask people who have been there where you've been. Like, you're not going to get it. You're probably not going to get the best answer from them, but you're going to get some pointers.
Yeah.
And they're going to help you.
100%.
Like, so that would be my encouragement. Like, you know, seek older people who have been there where you've been.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
they're going to tell you, you know, what you need to know.
Yeah. Well, I hope everybody has understood with this podcast the importance of community,
right?
And
vital.
Taking the practical steps on how to find community. A lot of it is stay planted into a church.
Yes.
If you're in the world, if you're in college, stay planted into a church body.
Right.
Stay planted into Him. Stay rooted in His Word. And again, a lot of it is putting faith in the Lord, that He is a provider.
He is.
And He knows exactly what you need.
Right.
And He is going to provide the people in your life that you need.
Yeah.
He's faithful to that. And He's done it with Wes.
Man, time and time again.
He's done it with me.
Yeah.
And I'm just thankful for that. Community is important.
Yes.
And my last statement, and then you can close it out, man.
Yeah.
When you preached, you spelt out community and you capitalized unity.
Yeah.
So community is important. So Pastor Wes, wrap it up for us. Give us a word to go on with.
listen to that boy was like, yeah, I'm gonna have you close. No, like, I would just for one, I want to encourage you guys that I always say this a lot to the kids at our youth in our youth group back at River Life, but I tell them, like, where you're at time wise on your timeline, you're right where you need to be.
100%.
You are not too far back, and you're also not too far ahead. Like, the Lord has you right where you need to be. As He's looking at you, He's not thinking that you're too far behind or you're too far ahead. You're right where you need to be. So, like, for my young adults, like, it's okay to not know where you're at. Like, I know your friends are getting married, and you're wondering this is your life.
Yeah.
The Lord, He has someone for you. Or it could be your job. Like, how do my friends have this big job and I'm still working at, fast food? You're right where you need to
100%.
be. 100%. And so it's just being content and knowing that, like, I might not have the job I want to. I might not have the relationship I want to. Like, I might not have my degree yet, or whatever the case may be. Like, the Lord has you where He wants you. It's our job to be obedient, to stay on our word, to pray. And even there's times where I'm not doing all those things.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's easier said than done. I get it, because life can be hard.
Yes.
And you tend forget all that. Like, I really don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
But it's being obedient, even in the hard times, just as much in the good, is going to get you to where you need to be.
Yeah.
And so it's just knowing that, like, where I'm at is where the Lord has me.
Yeah, yeah.
So, it's just knowing that, like, knowing who you are in Christ is gonna take you where you need to get to, because the Lord is the only one that's gonna open doors and also close them. So, just be content in where you are. Don't worry about what's going on or what everyone else has going on. Like, this is your life.
100%.
So
I love it. Well, guys, this is episode 1 of the Collective Podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hey, share this.
Yeah.
Share it to your stories.
Absolutely.
Share it for us on Facebook.
Yeah.
So your grandmas and grandpas can see it. I think that's all that gets on there. Share it on Twitter. Share it on. Just share it with your friends. So thank you guys for tuning in. What a great, phenomenal guest we had with us for our first one. Pastor Wes, appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you.
Love
all right,
bro.
everybody. We'll see you soon.
Yeah.